Good morning, my dear ones. How are you? Hope you're doing well today. So I try to make these a little bit ahead of time. I like to have a couple kind of ready to go. And that way I don't miss something if I get busy. The downside of that, though, is that I sometimes miss, I'm not very topical. And so I'm only kind of now getting to the point where these terrible fires in California have been going on for a few days. I haven't said anything about it because all of what I've been saying up till now has been recorded a day or two early. So I just wanted to pause and acknowledge the terrible destruction, the loss of life, the terrible feeling of having to leave everything behind. And watching, sometimes literally just watching it burn your whole life. Anyway, it's just awful. I'm sending love and prayers and thoughts to everyone there. I would encourage anyone, if they can, to, even if it's just $1 or $2, find a way to donate, to the Red Cross, some reliable charity who has a record of actually getting money and relief to the actual victims. I noticed this when there were floods in North Carolina a couple months back, and then I'm seeing it now with the fires, and I want to talk about it. I normally try to avoid anything even remotely political, but this isn't super political as much as I think it's just a matter of how we treat each other and how we want the world to be when we might need help. So back when the floods happened earlier last year, I remember hearing a lot of people kind of snarking and saying, well, these idiots, they all voted for Republicans and they're climate change deniers and they deserve floods. And now I'm hearing, similar things as far as the fires in California. It's just from the other side. Well, this is what you get when you vote Democrats and they don't care about governing. You should have. Anyway, it's easy to blame people. I don't know why we do this. It's a very human instinct, though. For some reason, we blame people when they have a hard time, like victim blaming. But it's not just one side who does this. It's a human thing, and it's not great. It's just not a good look. It's not good for our hearts and our souls. It's not good for our humanity. It's certainly not good for the people that are suffering and who we're blaming, but I really think this is one of those things that hurts the blamer more than the blamee. This is the kind of thing that is worse for the giver than the recipient, because it just deadens you to empathy, to compassion, to human understanding. Surely all of us ought to be able to understand on some level what it means as a human being to lose everything that you have, whether that's to a fire or a flood or something else, hurricane, whatever. I don't like this world where we are beginning to only give, not beginning, so this is we're well into this, but where we only give sympathy, or where we want to base our sympathy on what political team we think that victims of terrible disasters are on. It really should not be a red or a blue thing. It should not be another front in this endless culture war. When someone is in a terrible situation, we ought to be able to just respond on a human level with empathy, compassion, gratitude. It's not us. There's an old saying that people used to say a lot that I think is valuable. It's there, but for the grace of God go I. Meaning, gosh, I could be in this situation. I'm very lucky I'm not, and so I'm going to try to have some compassion and empathy and kindness. At any rate, we need to just be compassionate to humans. If we find that our response is based on someone's, political, what we think are that's a huge generalization. When there's a huge flood or fires, first of all, you don't know how everyone who suffered voted, but even so, voting, it's very complicated. People have two choices and they have to balance a lot of priorities. Anyway, we need to just be compassionate human. If someone needs help, we ought to give it. If someone is hurting, we ought to try to help. At the very least, we ought to care, and we ought to be able to just feel sorrow and compassion, if nothing else, for them. That's really important to having a happy life, because if you are doling out your humanity based on someone's political beliefs or their perceived political beliefs, you're building a cage around your heart, and that will not be a happy way to live. And I do so want you to be happy. So sending prayers and love to those of you who are suffering right now in any way, and sending love to all of you. I hope you're well. I'll talk to you soon. Love, your internet grandpa.